everybody. My name is Lisa Brierley. Welcome to our 10th podcast of Soulmates and Suitcases. This is my amazing husband, Scott Brierley, and we are excited to have two amazing guests on today, Jody Crawford and Mark Klaudt. And we met them a few years ago in all the personal development work that we've been doing together. And we're excited to have them on today. They have amazing insights and amazing things that they do in their lives. And we are excited to meet Jody. She is a coach and energy alignment mentor. And Mark works with men as a facilitator and transformation guide. But will you both tell us a little more about about what you do?
Sure. I guess, for me, my work started with just me. So let's sort of get off in that end first. So, and it's actually just thinking about it now, it was really 10 years ago for me that I started my journey, really. And, just in the tools that I think, um, just realizing things about myself, that I didn't realize were going on for me. Traumas, things from my youth, things through past relationships. And, as they come out at some point in time, I think the ultimate question for me came from the point of um, if I didn't do something about me, I was going to end up trading the same pattern. I remember that question coming out and literally having a conversation on the phone with my dad. And I remember as soon as I said those words, there was just like a shift in energy that came with it. So, and I think in the last 10 years, really, everything from guiding people through doing cold plunges and breath work and my own journey itself, doing the work with Psi seminars and just other programs throughout the time. And then even just really stepping into the idea of trying to find a path of how I wanted to work with men. And literally within the last year and a half or so, stepping in the realms of working with companies like Sacred Sons and Man Aligned up here in Canada, really realizing that end of men's work for me meant that there was a bit of as spiritual is for me, is really the connection with the universe and the reality that this is work that I don't want to say men need, but it's available because guys got to choose in. It's I think a lot of times as men, if we got told we need something, we want to like give you the big finger and tell you screw that, I'm okay. So it's definitely creating a path for men to work in a different way and really to realize that there's strength when we realize that the ability of us being open and sharing with one another that comes with power. And I think we often get caught up in that realm that when we're a lone wolf, that we can deal with this on our own. But the reality is, as I do more of this and work more with guys and in groups, the more we get together, the more power you see come forth for guys. And I think that's really been my passion in this and really facilitating in different ways. I still do cold plunging with men and women. But I love working with guys on it because there's something about getting a man in a cold body of water and in a sauna and watching them tether through that with things that are going on and watching the beauty that comes out of it. So it's really a place for men to bond and reconnect in a way that we used to do hundreds of years ago. Our ancestors used to do, and bringing them back to that is really my passion and the realms of what I do in my daily life. So it's exciting.
Very fascinating. And thank you, Mark. And I know the kind of that stretching your comfort zone has brought you to a new place so you can, I think, support other men on their journey as well. And Jody, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your experiences, and what you offer.
So I would describe myself as a healer, a coach, an author, a speaker, a mother. I wear a variety of different hats. I'm a certified teacher and have a couple of university degrees and some Reiki certifications, and I'm trained as a life coach in NLP therapy and ontology and a little bit of hypnosis therapy. So I've got just like a whole bunch of certifications, and I really don't think that tells you much about me at all. I think ultimately at the end of the day, I share that because I want the people that I work with to know that they're in good hands, that I've studied at great lengths for years, decades, to gather the knowledge that I have. And I feel very honored to be a carrier of that knowledge and a conduit for change. And so my specialty is supporting people to heal through burnout, overwhelm, and exhaustion, particularly people who are growth minded and soul led. And so my journey began with a diagnosis, and the diagnosis wasn't good. And it didn't head down a path that led to life. It headed to a path that ended, and I was not willing to take that path. So I made a declaration, and anybody who knows the power of declarations in our soul journey knows that the moment that you stand up and go, hell no, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, this is not going to be my path. And I'm the type of person that when I get my mindset on something, then change happens. And so I made some major, major moves. And I call it, I took radical responsibility, full responsibility for myself. And moved my family to Costa Rica and met gurus and, you know, took some irons out of the fire. I was a high school teacher for 23 years, and I was coaching on the side, and I ran a number of committees, and Mark and I ran our own personal growth and wellness creative collab studio. And we were raising two teenagers that were our own and one that we adopted at the time. And it was just like, honestly, when I was writing it all out, I was exhausted reading it. And I was like, well, gee, you can't imagine why I burnt out. Funny that. So like any great journey, it started in pain. And then I found a path to healing. And now that's what I teach. I teach that map to people because when I was at my bottom, I lost hope. And so the frequency at the bottom is low, and it's painful, and it's icky. And I'm sure anybody who's been to the bottom of their journey, whatever that looks like, whatever took them there, understands the darkness that's attached to that. And I've never been dark in my life. I've been accused of being bright and light and energetic my whole life. And suddenly I got to experience this massive contrast of self, and I didn't feel like myself. And I wanted to feel like myself again. And so I found a path back, and now I've made it my dharma to teach other people how to do that too.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think we're like we have many things in common, from the ice baths with Mark and Scott, because Scott's done many of those and has seen amazing. You can probably best describe your feelings that you felt from the ice baths.
I'm almost gonna just use the word that it grounds you, because it's about the only I have ADHD, I found out, and the only time I can get meditative mode without falling asleep is in an ice bath. If you put me on the ground with 100 people, I'll be snoring and people will be elbowing me to meditate. And however, in the ice bath, I stay awake. So I'm looking forward to doing more. I just bought a little bathtub that I can order ice in and throw in. And
Beautiful. Yeah, when we were in Costa Rica.
You're muted there, Mark. Yeah, there you go.
I was going to say, when we were in Costa Rica, we actually, our friends ordered a fridge, like a freezer, like an icebox freezer, and filled it with freezing cold water. Because we could not find cold water there. Like, that didn't exist. The ocean was warm. The rivers were warm. Everything was like nothing Canadian cold. We're like, where's the cold water in the world? And so that's what we did in that tropical climate.
Nice.
we get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say, Scott, you're not the first person I've worked with that has the same experience.
Yeah.
You know, when they get in that water and all of a sudden that's the only place their brain is, and all of a sudden there's a sense of calm that comes, and I've watched people get emotional about it because they're like, oh my gosh, I wasn't thinking about anything else in that moment. And then when they get into their breath, like there's just a peace that comes from it. It is beautiful to watch. Like it is really something to sit down and watch somebody do that and just find that space and walk away from it. So yeah, it's good to hear your perspective. I love that, Scott. That's awesome to hear.
In terms of now, the both of you work, you work in your own sort of areas, but you as a couple, and like us, I think in similar ways, you like a couple make growth important together. Can you share a little bit about that for yourselves?
Do you want to
Joe,
address
do you
that,
want to go
Mark?
first? Yeah, go first.
I'll tell you this. I manifested Mark. So I put him on a vision board. And it was a mentor who said to me, don't put the characteristics of who you want as a partner on the vision board. Put how you want to feel in a relationship on a vision board.
Ooh.
And so I was like, all right. And so I wrote down, like, I want to feel safe. I want to feel safe to be myself. I want to be authentic all the time. I want somebody who can hold me in my highs and my lows. I wanted somebody who um, cared about the same things I cared about. And I'm a very artsy kind of person. So I love, art and music and dance and performance. And I love people. I find people fascinating, and I love the connection and humanity. I love nature. So I was looking for comfort of being in myself in those situations. And I love to sing out loud ridiculously. And so what I found at the end of my previous relationship, so I was married, both Mark and I were married for 17 years to our previous spouses. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting connection between the two of us. And so I was very certain that whoever I was going to be in a relationship with would be an LS man, which means that he would be somebody who's already studied personal growth and development at a minimum level, and then did growth on himself in a group training, and then went off and did leadership training as a man. And I would not date a man that did not have that level. So they weren't even in my scope. Like it was not even going to be, it does not interest me to be with somebody who's not willing to look at their own shit. Because when you're not willing to look at it, then you're going to pour it out on me. Because my job as your partner is to bring it up. That's my job. That's why we're in partnership. I'm going to help you heal your wounds. And so when we're together, I need you to know that my very presence, not even the words I say, is intended for that purpose. And so I need you to figure out and have enough emotional intelligence to be able to regulate when that happens for you. And so I think for myself, it was essential that my partner was in growth. I'd be curious what Mark's answer to this is, though.
I'm going to interrupt for just a little sec. You talked about manifestation,
Yeah.
and when Mark was my coach, we were in a group setting and we were supposed to sell somebody on a topic or a product or something. And I thought the universe hated me when I first met Mark. And I drew this resort in Thailand. I've never been to Thailand. And then last April, Lisa and I are signing papers to build our own little house in Thailand. And it's like, and when I realized it was a manifestation that I can produce whatever I want in this world,
Yes.
just by it's not exactly like I drew and what my vision was, but it's still our own little paradise.
This or something better.
Yeah. Well, I think it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think one of the beauties about that,
you were smiling, Mark, when Jody was talking. Tell us what you're
Yeah.
well,
thinking.
I think one of the things that really stood out for me, and this is so interesting, for me when she shares, because I remember one of our conversations when we first, because I'd literally, blown apart my last marriage, 17 years, and, had walked away from us literally for the first time in my life of ever having a relationship and picked up the phone and talked to my dad, make that conversation, and literally spent the better part of a year and a half literally being by myself. And that would be moments of driving home from work and sitting on the cliffs by the river, just literally delving into myself. And even for a moment, I think a brief month and a half, I attempted to get on one of the dating apps, and it just did not feel good, wasn't aligned, didn't enjoy it. So I'm like, nah, this isn't it. So, and I remember sitting by the river rocks and literally having this conversation. And Jody got to the same place in her dynamic as well, where I literally looked at the universe and said, I just want to look after me, however this is meant to look. If a relationship's meant to happen for me, I'm open to it, but I want to get me clear first. And it was a moment I was thinking about moving out to Vancouver to be closer to my daughter. Like all these conversations were going, but it's like, I'm done hunting for somebody. When the right person's meant to come, they're going to show up for me. And Jody, I remember having a conversation. We were building the studio when I first met her. I remember her saying the same thing. Like she literally was building the studio. She was like, if I'm meant to meet somebody, it'll happen. But for now, this is what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on me. I'm focused on the studio. So I think we were both in a place where, we were really just it was self-care. It was looking at ourselves for once, getting outside and working on us. And it was the first time outside of doing like Dale Carnegie work, stuff through business that I've done, but it was the first time I've ever stepped back and really just wanted to look at me and remember what it was like to love this person who I was. So I got to be in that place for a month and a half before our initial introduction happened. And then there was just something that clicked when we first met, even what was it, May, June, July, really 4 months before we even, got into the part we were working on the studio together and made that connection. But I was inquisitive because and the funny part is we had a group of friends and we had never met. We had friends that were all connected, and of course, at this point in time, I was actually rooming with a friend of mine in High River and her husband. And when I walked in, and I was like, "How come I've never met this Jody girl?" And we had met at this scavenger hunt birthday party for her husband in May. And she's like, oh, she looks at me and she does an Elaine push. She goes, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "I've never thought about you guys. You guys would be great in a relationship together." So she goes, "Let me make some calls." So I went out to work the next day and came back home. And then, of course, she had talked to Jody, and Jody was like, "Nah, I just got in a relationship with this guy. I'm not, basically not available." And what's funny is uh, I walk into the house and France tells you, she goes, just give it 3 months. And of course, I didn't really know what this meant. And of course, as I got in and met Jody, and of course, by the time I met her, she had broken up with this guy. And of course, didn't really know the context behind this 3 months until I got to know Jody and we started having conversations about it. And there was this premise and the balance after she got divorced where, a lot of her relationships where they would only last about 3 months, really. So we had this
That's when you
chuckle. So
know.
there was a pattern she had created in her friends group. Well, it's only going to last about 3 months, right? So we had this whole chuckle about this in the end. And but yeah, I think we just both got to a place, and I think and I often talk about this with guys. I think we get to a point where I think there's pressure on us sometimes, or we feel like we need to be in relationships, and I think that's both sides. Like I have to be in a certain relationship because my dad was like this and my family was like this. And I think, one of the hardest challenges I've had, even, and Jody and I talked about this the other day. One of the hardest things I had for, a better 47 years of my life was being by myself. And it wasn't always like that. When I was a kid, when I was growing up on the farm, I'd take off often by myself. But there was some point in there where something changed for me where being on my own or being in a, I couldn't even drive in the car without music on. There had to be noise playing because I couldn't be with my own thoughts. Right. And when I got to that point again to be there, there was something that shifted in me energetically to realize that, I don't need to be in a car with music. Now I often drive my car without anything playing in and just literally am there and it's a place where I find my most ideas come and I manifest things in my car when I just sit back and get in connection. Right. So, and I
That
think
was
the
that
beauty
was our
about,
very long. I'm interrupting you, babe,
Mhm.
because I'm just going to wrap us around to the question. Otherwise, we're not going to get any other questions
Yeah.
in. But yeah, so the long response from both of us about like it's been woven in our relationship, personal development from the very beginning.
Beginning.
Like it
Yeah,
was the reason we're
really
in a
was.
relationship.
So
Yeah.
basically, what I hear you got both of you saying is we need to heal ourselves,
Mm,
and then the universe shows up with a partner for us almost. And
yeah.
I'm not saying that's with everybody, but I know that's the case with me and Lisa, and I know that's the case with you two. And if we can
Mhm.
take care of our own, then we have room for somebody else.
A
Yeah.
psychic medium told me once, you don't want him right now. He's working on himself. He'll
Yeah.
show up. He'll show up when he's ready. You don't want him right now. He's not cooked enough.
Well, there,
I was like,
there you
fair
go.
enough.
And
Yeah.
for those people who are listening to us on Spotify, you'll hear the words. But if you're watching right now on our YouTube channel and you look at the faces of these two people, you can see that they have true respect for each other and their growth. And I think that's one of the things that even we as well have come to a place of, we didn't arrive at each other at some level of perfection. I think we arrived at a place of we were understanding that life is about change and about growth and that we respected each other in that journey. I think that was a big thing. And I'm seeing that from both of you as you watch each other speak.
Yeah, very
That's
much
awesome.
so. Very much
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
And it doesn't end, right? Like
No.
we've been together for 9 years now, and we're still growing. We're still learning about each other. Like I'll say things to him, and I'll go, "I didn't know that about you," or something will come through, right? Something will trigger a memory for him, and he'll share it, and I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know that about you. That's super interesting." Right? And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just remembering it myself." So he's just,
Yeah.
he's just getting to know himself too, right? So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
that's what's special about being in a relationship. You have a life's witness, you know?
Hmm. Well said, Joe.
And a
Yes.
life support
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's
or encouragement, or because I know Lisa encourages
yeah,
me in
cheerleader.
Yeah.
anything I want to do because it's like, go do it, go experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing,
think about
Scott. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say it always saddens me when I hear partners that have such strong ideas of how their partner should be. Like that should, that shaming word of should, right? And I remember Mark saying something along the lines, do you like me with facial hair, without facial hair? And I'm like, how do you feel like a 10 out of 10? Like I could give two shits if you were bald, had long hair, whatever. This is just the costume called Mark. Like I'm so deeply in love with your spirit. So how your spirit will rise and shine and be radiant when you feel your best. So do you want to wear a beard right now? And he'd be like, I think I do. Okay, cool. Rock that. Right? Like, but in my previous relationship, granted we were young, my husband told me that if I ever cut my hair, he would divorce me. And I had really long hair, like down to my lower back. And the next day, I went and got a haircut because I was like, let's see the test of our relationship. Because if it is predicated on the length of my hair, we're in big trouble,
100%.
right? But
Yeah.
it's those things where people have, and I've seen it in both ways, men to women, women to men, like puppeteering their partners,
Mhm.
not cheering them on, not being supportive, but treating them as though they are an extended child, and that hurts my heart. I don't understand it.
Yep.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, Joe. You sort of chimed in well for me, and I think great partnerships lift each other. They support each other and see them in their highest, no matter what they're doing, and they're the biggest cheerleaders for one another. And also the person to give them feedback as well too. So I think it's it works in both ways. That we always want to see the best for the person we love and we care about, and and I think that's the beauty and all, and that's the part that makes it work, right? Is that we never we want to see you shine always. And I mean, that's, I love when Jody's doing what she does, and it's great to sit back and watch. And I see that with you guys as well, too. Like I watch when you guys are sharing and acting, but when you're sharing yourself, I see the love and passion that comes behind, what you guys are putting in for one another.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's amazing, amazing relationship. We can tell and we can see that on the screen. So we have a few minutes left. So I know it flies by when you're having fun. So what big things are happening for you here in the near future? What are some upcoming things that you want to share with us? And as well, how can people connect with you?
So very quickly, my Misagi this year, which for those of you who haven't been introduced to Jesse Risler's word, Misagi, it means a large goal that you have no idea how you're going to pull it off. And so my Misagi this year, last year it was publishing my book. This year it is hosting a retreat, a health and wellness retreat with a group of people down in Waterton Lake National Park, which there's never been a retreat of this magnitude ever hosted there. And what's something super special about that location is that there's a ley line running through the park. So anything that happens energetically is amplified there. And so it's really, really special. Like people have stories all over the internet and personal stories that when I've invited them to retreat, they're like, oh my God, I love Waterton. I got to tell you, I was, and this came true and this happened. So it was a magical place in and of itself. However, who we're bringing to the table and what we're offering, we have 3 keynote speakers being flown in from the United States. We've got 8 practitioners that are from all over Alberta and BC. We have 1 practitioner who's flying in from Holland. We have, we've got the best in the fields coming, and we've got 40 vendors that are health and wellness based as well. So it's just going to be massive and magnetizing. And so we're so excited about it. There are still tickets available. So, and right now, I believe for the next week, I don't know exactly when this is going out. However, if you guys hear this podcast before March 15th, there's a 34% off coupon available for it as well. So when we originally put it together, it was going to be $4,600 a ticket. You could imagine in a national park with chef meals every meal and all the practitioners and all the speakers and all the things. However, we did a lot of work. We worked our butts off, my team and I, in getting the price down. So it's $2,000, $2,073, and with a 34% off coupon, it's actually $1,300 for 4 days in
Really
Waterton
great
with
value.
all of your accommodations. Yeah, like ridiculous value. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is the Vitality Collective. So it is a leg of my business that I launched this year. It was an opportunity to support people who would like coaching weekly. However, paying $160 to $600 a month for coaching was out of their reach. And as a former teacher and knowing what I got paid at one point in my journey, and Lisa, I know you can really relate to that. There were a group of people that helped me when I was stepping into my coaching years ago by offering me an opportunity to be a part of programs. And I wanted to do the same. So I put my hand out and I put this together so that people can come into the field and have weekly coaching for $100 a month. So it's a really, really high value that my previous clients were like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, it's group coaching. So, that's a little bit different, yet really great for the person who doesn't need to be babysat, but would like accountability. The person who wants to be in harmony, however, needs a sounding board to see back, the mirror to see back at themselves, to see where that harmony or where they might be in disharmony. Because people say, oh, I know, but they don't really know. And then I also offer tools, like personal development tools throughout the trainings. So it's just like, in terms of one of the gifts that I'm giving back this year, that is one of the biggest. So those are the two newest things on the docket. Attractenergy.ca is our website. Feel free to check it out. Everything's on there. Up and coming events are on there. I offer public classes, private classes, coaching. I come and speak, and obviously I'm an author. You can get my book on Amazon, Radical Responsibility, The Pink and Blue Solution to Healing the Ambitious, Exhausted Soul. Feel free to grab a copy. They're like $15 USD. And what else can I tell you? I mean, everything's on the website. If you want to check it out, please do so. You can follow me on Instagram, crawford.jody. I would love to. I always love feeding my audiences on there tips and tricks and tidbits and just shining light. I feel like my dharma is clearly in teaching, and I've been pointed in the direction of health and wellness. So particularly mental health.
Perfect. Thank
Beautiful.
you, Jody. And
We
Mark,
can share all that info.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to really say for me, it's literally talking and welcoming brothers to come partake and get within the brotherhood of sacred sons and man aligned. And I was going to say we can share our personal details in the chat after as well too for you to post with this. And then just literally anybody locally or wants to talk about or find out info about getting into cold plunging and sauna work and the power of really what you can let go of, release of in those kind of sessions is really what I focus on with them. It's about releasing and setting intentions and the dynamic of getting in the cold water and the sauna. So I'd love to. I'm always there to chat and share, and then not only nourishing bodies from the outside and mentally, I'm doing it internally as well too. And I make and create bone broth for people to add into their diets for cleansing, for clearing. It was nature's original supplement. So I make and create some healthy goodies for the internal end as well too.
Perfect.
I was
thank you. Yeah.
Just going to add very quickly, May
sure.
1st through 4th for the retreat. I totally forgot to say the date. And Mark is actually leading cold plunging in the glacial lake there as well. So you can come and check out that opportunity too.
A true Canadian experience.
Yes.
There you go. Wonderful, wonderful. And just to ask you again, Jody, you mentioned they have until March 15th?
Yeah, March 15th.
That's correct.
Okay.
For the 34% off coupon.
Yes, this podcast, the 10th podcast, will be aired on March the 8th. So people will get to get in on that.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
And as you had mentioned, you can find your book, Jody, on Amazon as well. Our books, which we have posted there behind us. We'd be excited for you to get Jody's book. Get a few of them, share them with friends as well as our own books. And we would like to thank you in Thai style today for coming to our podcast. So we will say
Kapunka.
Kapunka. Thank you so much.
Kapunka.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you,
a wonderful
you guys. That's been awesome.
Love and light, you guys.
That was awesome.
Rest of our lives.